Now you either love him or you hate him, but the dude makes hits like this.
Grips on your ways, front way, back way. You know that I don't play. Streets not safe, but I never run away. Even when I'm away. OT, OT, there's never much love.
This is Drake's One Dance. That's his most streamed song on Spotify. Obviously, the dude has had an illustrious career, and he's definitely one of the most polarizing figures in music and pop culture. Drake is a Leo rising, okay? And there are two cards that represent Leo in the tarot. And your rising sign is the part of yourself that you show to the world. It's your sense of self, right? So it's your first house in astrology. We will have future breakdowns of celebrities and their houses and different placements in your chart. If you are either getting into astrology or you are already into astrology, your rising sign is a really, really important part of who you are, where you're going in your life. And again, these are the two cards that represent Leo. Leo is represented by strength and the sun. So let's talk about Leo today, and let's talk about strength. The story of the strength card is that this lion here represents our inner critic. It's our inner voice. It's the part of ourselves that's hard on ourselves. It's the part of ourselves that, really brings us down, that prevents us from having strength. And what the strength woman is doing, she is putting her hand in the mouth of this lion. So she becomes strong because she is able to really control the parts of herself, that make her weak, the parts of herself that talk badly to herself, right? So it's like, this is, again, our inner voice that keeps us from doing the things that we want to do in life. It's our inner voice that keeps us down. It's our inner voice that keeps us from really reaching our potential. And when you can control that inner voice, when you can control that inner critic, that's when you become strong. And what she's doing here by putting her hand in the mouth of the lion is that she is displaying her inner strength. Now, listen, let me just say this. I do not ever want to judge anyone. I don't know Drake. I have never met Drake. I may never meet Drake in this life. And so for me to call Drake a misogynist is really unfair, right? And forgive the clickbait. I'm really not going to try to do too much clickbait on this channel. But we have some evidence, and I'm going to show you some clips of things that Drake has done that are misogynistic. Now, the other card that represents Leo is the sun, and we'll get into that. But one of the things that we're going to talk about in this particular episode, and really all the episodes that I do, are the good things and the bad things that these celebrities show in their astrology. And then by learning about, the light and the shadow of celebrities, and you, wherever you are when it comes to your journey in astrology, you can start to understand the good and the bad in you through astrology. Okay, so I have a clip. Play it off my laptop for you guys.
I did talk to a therapist one time, and he made this point about being like, he's like, you have the biggest tits in the room. He's like, you walk into any room and you have just the most gigantic tits. Nobody can think about anything else other than whatever your gigantic tits, which is you're Drake. I remember this about this guy. I remember that about this guy. I bet this guy does this. I bet this guy does that. Like all the preconceived notions, they're just like, they can't see past the gigantic tits unless they talk to you. And then they're like, oh, wow, like you're actually like, I mean, your tits are huge, but you're super smart. Right. That's why.
Okay, so again, forgive me. I don't know Drake. I don't know what this dude has been through. I know he was a child star. Big disclaimer here. I've never been the biggest fan of this guy's music, and I'm really, really hip hop. I want you to know that. And that right there is, and I'm sorry to really offend all the Leos right now, that is a Leo being a Leo, okay? Because Leos are the sun. Now, the sun card is about living a life with ease, right? The story of the son here is that you see this child, he's holding on to this big old flag while riding this horse. And how in the world does a child hold on to a big flag? It's because the sun makes our lives easier. When the sun shines on us, it brings joy, it brings happiness. And you can see the joy in this child riding victoriously on this horse holding the flag because the sun is shining on him, right? Now, Leo in astrology and in the solar system is represented by the sun. So think about everyone who has their planets in certain placements. If you don't have a lot of Leo in your chart, then you may not identify with this, and you can identify more with your, if Mars is a big rule in your chart, Mercury, Venus, whatever it may be, Leo is the sun, right? Which means that all of us that are just planets revolve around the sun. So one of the shadows of Leo is an ego. One of the shadows of Leo, because they are the sun, is that everything revolves around them. And forgive me for calling Drake a misogynist, okay? I don't know the man, never met him. Misogyny is obviously a huge, huge problem, especially for women, but not just for women, for men as well, because it keeps us divided. It keeps us apart. It keeps one gender in power. We're seeing misogyny played out in many ways in our world, right? I do my best not to talk about politics too much, but we are seeing how men have ruined the world for thousands of years. And we're seeing that unravel right now. Now, for me as a girl dad, right, the father of a daughter, I had to confront my own misogyny. Every boy, every man is taught misogyny. We practice misogyny because we live in a very misogynistic world, a very misogynistic society. And, Drake basically thinks that he has the biggest tits in the world. Right. But for him to even say that is misogynistic in and of itself. It's an offense to women. Right. But it's like this came out of the dude's mouth. And this is a prime example of misogyny. It's a prime example of a Leo being a Leo in their shadow. Right. Because what astrology is going to help you do, how it helps us all, it makes us identify all the different parts of ourselves that we can start to address, the good and the bad. Right. So it's like for someone like Drake, I don't know if the dude has gotten into astrology, and I understand being a celebrity means that you need to get attention in really whatever way you can. And this dude has mastered both, being famous and infamous. Right. And by saying things like this, he's going to bring attention to himself. That's good for his brand. But obviously, that is something that is really, really hurtful to women who have to experience this, who have to experience being objectified, right? Like for me, again, as a girl dad, once I found out that I was going to be a father, the first thing that I thought of was fear of my daughter being objectified, of my daughter being treated the way that women do, right? The way that I've treated women at certain points in my life, coming from a more misogynistic place, coming from a place where just because I'm a man, I think I'm dominant. And, we're getting to a place now in our world where we're becoming way more equal, I hope, or the people that don't have equality are standing up for their rights and standing up for their equality. So misogyny is hopefully going to change and get better and improve. And hopefully the inequality and the injustice that we're seeing in the world right now, those things are going to start to balance out. And really for, anyone who's into astrology, and if you are on any journey on your path of astrology, you can understand how you can use astrology to empower yourself and then bring this change in yourself first and then out into the world. And that's going to be something that's really, really important for us. So misogyny serves no one, right? Misogyny brings a fake kind of power that you see that comes out in personalities like Drake. And unfortunately, because he's a Leo, right, it's important for him to understand these two cards in his astrology. He is not going to be strong if he thinks the world revolves around him, right? And to be honest, he is not going to be strong, and his life will never be easy with the sun until he identifies these different parts of his shadow. So let me show you one more clip, and I'm sorry to keep roasting this guy, man, but this is the viral clip, that came out, which again just shows this side of Drake, right? Which shows the ego, that is not controlled. So let's take a look.
Am I your type?
I do it.
Thank you.
Like I do it. There's you
Not an it.
I know, I just feel like
You do it.
Right, so that's the famous interview. I forget her name, man. Her first name's Bobby, right? But that's the famous interview that blew her up and that blew her podcast up. And this just shows an unfortunate dynamic that we have in misogyny, right? And an unfortunate dynamic that we have in dating and romance and validation, right? For her to ask, and it's like, yo, she looks super young at this time. So I know this is definitely the material that Kendrick came up with, calling Drake a pedophile, right? Because he was hitting on a very, very young looking girl at the time. I think she was 18, right? But, nonetheless, like the kid looks really, really young in this video. And so, again, that is just a demonstration of this ego that is not controlled, or this ego that is not recognized, this ego that leads to a lot of different darkness. That's a thing that we have to understand about the ego, is that when the ego goes unchecked, right? And in this case, right, you have one of the most famous artists of all time, one of the most powerful and wealthiest artists of all time, who's been able to have his ego fed, right? In a moment like that, to me, this is just very unfortunate, because I'm looking at this as a father, and for her to ask, am I your type, right? When she's obviously a very gorgeous, beautiful woman, right? But that's where this misogyny comes into play, right? It's like we seek validation in others. Men and women seek validation in each other. She was seeking validation, asking one of the most powerful people whether or not he found her attractive, and then he says, "I do it," right? And that's just, I mean, I like that she stands up for herself. I like that this is a moment where she empowered herself, because, from everything that I read, she deleted this interview, even though it's the interview that made her blow up, made her podcast blow up, made her brand blow up. But understanding that she was in a place of being disempowered in this situation. So again, I want to say one last thing. The sun is one of the best cards in the tarot deck. When you get a reading, with the sun, it means that you have the opportunity to bring ease and joy into your life, right? And one of those ways that we can bring ease and joy is by, again, recognizing the parts of ourselves in our ego, recognizing how those things hurt us from having this happiness from the sun. And when we do that, then, if you get the sun in a tarot reading, that's the way that you're going to bring this light and the beauty and the joy from the sun into your life. Thank you very much for watching. If you've made it this far, and if you're ever curious about, going over your astrology chart or getting a tarot reading, please hit me up, in my email's in the description. And again, if you're here, I would appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, and commented, shared, do all the things that help the channel and help, what I'm trying to do here, just to help put it out there. And I wish you have a good day. Bye.